Benny, are you hearing us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. 5 seconds.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to the Capital Committee meeting. I would like to call the meeting to order. First of all, we would like to have the presentation by Ms. Flaherty. Oh, let's do the approval of the minutes first. I would like to propose a motion to adopt the minutes of the Capital Committee held March 14, 2022. Thank you. I will ask each member for their vote. Say.
Yes.
Dr. Katz,
Yes.
Frida,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is carried. Now next we will have the Senior Vice President report, Ms. Flaherty.
Good morning, Chairman Pagan, Chair Piñamora, and Capital Committee members. Our team is actively managing our growing capital portfolio. We have received an additional $1.2 billion in mayoral and city capital for fiscal year 22. Currently, our capital portfolio has 330 active projects in various stages, valued at approximately $3.8 billion. Work on the bond portfolio continues and designs have been completed for every bond project. Our latest update on the bond portfolio is we have 15 projects in construction procurement, 15 projects have started construction, and 6 projects have been completed. Our decarbonization and sustainability team worked to get us $40.5 million in funding from DCAS ACE 11 grants. We are working to revitalize a number of our facilities to ensure our patients are cared for in a comfortable and safe environment. At NCB, we are investing $354 million in NCB revitalizations, including clinical renovations, energy efficiency projects, life safety infrastructure projects such as sprinklers, fire alarms, and emergency power, in addition to the outposted therapeutic housing project at NCB. We are also modernizing elevators at Kings County Hospital, upgrading lighting at Bellevue, improving the exterior facade at Cumberland, renovating ORs at Jacoby and Kings, and a number of other critical capital projects. We would be happy to do it another briefing educational session on our capital portfolio because it's so vast. Our capital budget, capital accounting, and contracts team have been very busy compiling CPs for funding approvals, issuing bids to ensure we get the best pricing, and registering contracts and processing payments for each of our vendors. The capital budget team has processed $246 million of CPs to receive funding approval of 101 new capital projects. The contracts team has issued bid and awarded 25 contracts worth $99.3 million through fiscal year to date. 48% of the contract awardees were MWBE vendors. The capital accounting team has registered $160 million in construction contracts fiscal year to date and forecasted to register an additional $130 million by the end of this fiscal year. Also, that same team has processed $214 million in capital payments fiscal year to date. I would like to thank each and every one of our members of these teams for their continued efforts to ensure we receive maximum funding possible and to work to commit our dollars as efficiently as possible. Our facility maintenance and operations team has continued to ensure our facilities can operate safely and maintain a safe environment to deliver care to our patients. With the support of our team, we are focused on Joint Commission readiness for Met, Harlem, Jacoby, NCB, and getting ready for our cooling season. Throughout the pandemic, this team worked tirelessly to quickly adapt our facilities to current safety standards for our patients and employees, installing 974 protection barriers, 576 mobile HEPA units, and 661 dialysis quick connects. We also oversee the 15 system-wide preventive maintenance contracts, which have processed approximately $21 million in payments annually. Our housing team has been busy working with our partners to secure housing for our most vulnerable patients. To date, they have secured 51 interim beds for housing insecure patients who require additional care not provided in a shelter, and 700 units of affordable supportive housing is in the pipeline on H&H land. Using a combination of Section 8 vouchers and partnerships with community-based organizations, this team has been successful in permanently housing 200 patients to date and are on target to house an additional 300 patients in 2022. Finally, throughout the pandemic, our team's done tremendous work to enhance our facilities' air processing systems to ensure they meet the requirements set forth by organizations such as ASHI and CDC. The American Council of Engineering Companies of New York recognized the project team for their great work for their air quality program by honoring them with the highest award, the Diamond Award of Excellence in the Building Technology System at their awards event this past weekend. Congratulations to the team. With these resolutions, 3 today, I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. And I just want to again congratulate your team for the award. I know how prestigious and competitive those awards are, particularly being at the diamond level. So that's a testament to you, your team, and the team that work with you on those projects. Thank you so much. Let me just open up the floor for questions. Jose, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Dr. Katz?
No questions, thank you.
Frida?
I just also want to say, Christina, thanks for the report as always. It's amazing how much you guys are doing and accomplishing. It's really terrific. And I would love to get another briefing. I know our last one was really interesting, and there's so much detail that you guys can go into. The one question I was interested in is you mentioned the decarbonization efforts and securing some grants from DCAS. Could you just talk about that a little bit, and are there other opportunities for that?
So DCAS has a round of grant funding that occurs on a regular cyclical basis, and we apply for those grants. The ACE 11 were the most recent awards. Oscar, anything you want to add to that?
Well, we just continue our conversations with them to see if we can possibly take advantage of the grant funding outside of cycles. So we're working through that. We just recently met with DCAS, and we do have, in addition, some studies, some ASHRAE level 3 studies that are well on their way. So we're trying to see if we can put in for those requests ahead of the studies actually getting completed. So hopefully that works out well.
Okay.
We're happy to also provide the committee the list of projects associated with the ACE 11 award mentioned.
Sure, that'd be interesting to see. Thank you. Thank you, Fenioski. That's it.
Thank you, Frida. Sally?
You're muted, Sally.
Sally?
Sally, you're on mute.
Sally, you're still muted.
Am I
Okay.
still muted?
Now we can hear you.
Oh, thank goodness. This is like a test. On the housing placements, were they primarily health and hospital patients that were housed, or did you get them from a variety of lists? Just curious.
So we work closely with all of our facilities as well as Metro Plus. So it's a variety of sources. And we're happy to provide kind of that breakdown of Metro Plus patients as well as our high-risk patients that are coming from. It includes our safety net clinics, our skilled nursing facilities, and as well as other inpatient areas of all of our hospitals.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Bob?
Christina, thank you and your team for your report. I have no questions.
Thank you. Christine, I just want to have I just have a kind of a question following up Frida's comments. Do you think it would be possible for you to share kind of the master plan of those projects, the implementation of the projects from the energy and sustainability perspective, since you are working with DCAS, but you also are thinking of other ways to be innovative on how to ensure that health and hospital reduce energy consumption and look for alternative energy sources. Do you think that will be possible?
We could provide it during our educational session, kind of the different areas that we're exploring. We will also work closely with the New York Power Authority as well as DCAS in identifying opportunities. And so the education session is probably the best forum to share kind of the things that are in the pipeline from a study perspective.
Thank you. I think that will be, maybe Kalisha can help coordinate, but I think that will be very interesting for the board members to hear how your team is working towards not net zero, but at least to make the best use of our resources. And the other thing is, I know that we have had a conversation in the past about a master planning for capital investment for all our facilities. I don't know if there has been any major progress on that, or there could be another education session on that area.
Sure. We can definitely include this in this education session, but just some brief key points. So Coney Island continues their master planning efforts around their future ambulatory building within the FEMA funding grant. Elmhurst has kicked off master planning efforts with a consultant, and we're going to be issuing an RFP for the system-wide master planning, recognizing that we're working towards a cycle of master planning investments over the course of multiple years, given the level of stakeholder engagement required to have a high-quality master planning process. We are also working closely with Queens to have them kick off some master planning soon as they look to collaborate further with Elmhurst's efforts that are underway.
Oh, thank you. Again, that's very interesting that the different facilities are undertaking their own master planning, but I think it will also be interesting to hear how the system master planning, taking consideration the facilities master planning, will be kind of good to know. Thank you, Christine, and thank you for your team again for excellent work, and congratulations again for the recognition of the project with a Diamond Award. If there is no other questions, I think we have a number of resolutions to consider. Ms. Farty?
Yes, the first resolution is a resolution authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation, the system, to execute a 5-year revocable license agreement with T-Mobile Northeast LLC, the licensee, to operate a mobile cellular communication system on approximately 1,600 square foot parcel of the land located on the campus of the former Neponset Hospital Care Center, the facility located at 67 Rockaway Beach Boulevard, Queens, at an occupancy fee of $50,000 to be escalated by 3% per year for a 5-year total of $265,457. Next slide, please. So the vacant former Neponset Health Care Center is located at 67 Far Rockaway Boulevard in Queens, New York. This property has been vacant for multiple decades and multiple administrations prior. In 2019 and 2021, the Board of Directors authorized a 3-month license agreement with T-Mobile for the installation and operation of a mobile cellular communication system designed to enhance cellular communications during the beach season. Under the proposed agreement, this type of equipment would be installed and operated at the site. This equipment would not impact the future anticipated construction that the next resolution will cover at the site. Next slide. This was set up as a term for a 4-month period beginning 2 weeks prior to Memorial Day to allow the team to set up the necessary system, and it would end after Labor Day. They would occupy about 1,600 square feet on the parcel and pay an occupancy fee of $50,000, and it would be escalated at 3% for a 5-year total of the $265,000 and change. We have changed this resolution to make it for 5 years so that we don't have to come to the board anytime soon for this resolution. And it would be revocable by either party with 30 days written notice. So it wouldn't guarantee that they would use this license agreement, but we would take it by a year basis. The next slide is the actual resolution itself. We're happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Christine. I would like to ask each member if they have any question. Jose?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Katz? Okay. Frida?
Christine, this is the same as the one they did in 19 and 21. It's just you decided to do a 5-year. Is that kind of
Yes.
the timing?
Yes. Exactly. We realized that this could have been done as a 5 years so that we wouldn't have to come again.
Okay, great. Well, it makes sense. Thanks. That's it. Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sally?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on Frida's comment. I think that I just want to thank both you and I know your team in making it this 5 years, because it seems that this is a type of lease that will come every year. So at least you have now a way forward to work with this vendor in this location. So I think that was a very good use of the contracting. So I just want to kind of thank you for that. I don't have any other questions. So let me ask for a vote. Jose,
Yes.
Dr. Katz,
Yes.
Frida,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes,
Bob.
Yes,
I also vote yes. The motion is carried. Ms. Flaherty, next.
The next resolution is a request authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals, the system, to execute a contract with Titan Industrial Services Corp., Titan, to raise the former Neponset Hospital, restore the site to a grass field, and erect a lifeguard facility for use by the Department of Parks at New York City Health and Hospitals Neponset Hospital Center, with a 20% project contingency of $3,816,000 for the unexpected scope changes due to unknown site conditions and concealed building conditions, yielding a total authorized expenditure not to exceed $22,896,000. Next slide. So again, we are talking about Neponset Health Center, located at 67 Far Rockaway Boulevard, Queens. In 2015, the New York City Parks Department and H&H entered into a license agreement for the Parks Department to utilize a small portion of the site to house lifeguard operations that are fundamental for the beach season. Aside from this discrete parks use and the T-Mobile use, the site remains vacant, unoccupied, and H&H has been burdened with providing security to these unoccupied structures for multiple decades. The condition of the site was flagged by Health and Hospitals leadership in 2020, and we went and visited the site because we wanted to see the condition of the site. Next slide. Upon our site visit, it was clear that the buildings and all of the structures were incredibly vulnerable and in unsafe condition. The exterior had extensive damage to the building envelope. There were signs of loose masonry and terracotta. Large areas of roofing was lost, broken and missing windows, and most concerning was there's signs that the public had found their way in and occupied the site. There was vandalism on the inside of the building, which implied an unsafe situation for somebody to come into the building. The interior elevator shafts were missing doors, collapsed ceilings, inadequate lighting. Delaminated hazardous material and debris are throughout the space, and the entire below grade structures are completely flooded and inaccessible. The buildings have been deemed fully unsafe, and they became unoccupied originally multiple administrations ago because they were deemed unsafe by DOB. Next slide. And so recognizing the importance of looking at the state of these structures, this shows you some of the pictures of the structures themselves, both the main hospital from the beach, as well as the overhead walkway bridge that collapsed during the course of us really learning in greater detail the condition of the site. The power plant itself, the interior spaces, the stairwell picture at the middle is actually the stairs to the basement. And if you look closely, you can see the reflection of water that's standing in this basement. I took that photo myself in 2020 when we walked the site and realized the importance of the need to take these buildings down. Next slide. So we sought and secured capital funding for the utilization of bringing these buildings down, doing full abatement of the site, and really bringing the site and the grade back to nature, as well as ensuring that the lifeguard station would be able to stay occupied. So the scope of work here includes the removals of the building structures, the roofs, full abatement, both below grade and in the buildings themselves, removal of all of the internal roadways, hazardous materials, the utility tunnels, etc. And the next slide is the goal of the completed site, which would be a new lifeguards facility towards the front of the property that the Parks Department would utilize for the lifeguard services that they currently provide during the summer season. The site would be regraded and contoured that would enable green infrastructure for the site, and 6 inches of topsoil and reseeding of the lawn would be the last activity that this contract would complete. This project has gone through the design phase fully and has completed the SECRA and SHPO regulatory approvals associated with this work. The project budget for this is a $19 million for construction. This shows you the design and construction management budget as well. And we have a rather healthy contingency here, given the highly complex nature of demolition projects and abatement and site condition projects, with a total project budget of $25,054,714. Next slide. This construction contract was sourced via public bid. Titan Industrial Services was the lowest of 7 bidders, and they had a 30% MWBE plan with the 3 firms listed below. That MWBE amount is $5,724,000. This is not a vendor that is in Passport, so we did call the references that they had done similar demolition projects on. And all of those references stated that they would hire this firm again to do the same type of scope. We are anticipating to register this contract this fiscal year, and we're hoping to complete the project by 2023. Of note within the project schedule is we're working to ensure that the lifeguard station work is done in advance of the next beach season so that there's never an interruption to those services. So the construction substantial mobilization would be focused on after this season, with a lot of early work to get the demolition permits in hand and the abatement permits in hand. The next slide is the actual resolution itself. We're happy to take any questions from the Capital Committee.
Thank you, Christine. Let me ask each member. Jose, any questions or comments?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Katz?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Frida?
I do have a few questions. Christine, do you know, have any ballpark estimate of how much we've been spending to provide security and maintenance on the site?
It's approximately $200,000 to $300,000 a year, and there's been some years where it was a little bit more, depending on specific instances. But our current state in the most recent years is $200,000 to $300,000, and that covers 24/7 security as well as some landscaping. Recognizing the property is directly adjacent to about 15 individual homes.
Okay, and when we're the license agreement with the parks, we don't get any compensation for that, right? That's just a use agreement.
That is the current state, correct? We'll
And
be engaging with parks about that conversation. That's kind of a next step for us.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going. Next step is if this becomes just a park, why does it stay H&H? I mean, is there still a health use? Do we have potential future needs that we may want it, or is there, because it does, while it may not be a lot of cost, if we can get a license agreement where, we're being paid for the use of it, it does still take up your time and, other people's time in terms of managing it when it doesn't seem to be part of necessarily our mission and what we're doing. So is that something that you're thinking about, or?
Yes, absolutely. We're in discussions with the parks and the city. Right now, we're trying to focus on the unsafe condition and address that in a thoughtful way, recognizing the importance of the beach season surrounding this property.
Right.
And so we've been meeting with the local electeds about this project itself, and we plan on having further discussions with the city and the community, obviously.
Okay, and the funds from this is coming from mayoral funds, or is it it's
Yeah,
GO bonds or?
No, city capital mayoral. We're actually in the process of achieving our CP for this contract.
Okay, so this is part of our allocation of funds, basically. into
Correct.
The capital budget. Okay, and then the last thing, I think you mentioned timing. So it's going to be, you're going to do some work in anticipation of this season, but probably won't really be ready until next season. Is that?
That's correct.
Okay, so and this is very minor, but I don't remember exactly where the T-Mobile tower is going to be. But if that gets disrupted, or if they have an issue,
No,
we won't
actually
buy-
have.
right?
Yeah, we've actually coordinated all of that. The first phase of work will be interior abatements of the property before demolition, full-scale demolition permits can be achieved. And so there was already a lot of coordination with Dave Gostein, our project manager on this project, and T-Mobile and that license agreement. And so there's no anticipated interruption this season. And then each season we'll work with T-Mobile to see what the latest is and find a place. It's a fairly small amount of space they need.
Okay, right, and obviously they take it down and move it, and so it's easy to manage that way. Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you. So I'm glad this is getting done. It seems like it's definitely necessary and important to take care of, but the kind of going forward would be interesting to know what you guys come up with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frida. Sally?
Yeah, I'm going to echo what Rita's saying. I remember in Tonsit, because it first came up, at least to my attention, when we were approving work for a clinic for Coney Island. At what time I think they thought they'd use the site and it was in too much disrepair. I know that we're not going to spend $25 million for a lifeguard facility and parking. Just that. I mean, the work has to be done. But I'm sure at some point down the road, whether it's compensation for the use by parks, which I don't think would be a huge amount of money, or some enhanced usage for the site, I think we're going to be able to make this a worthwhile investment for the system. But there'll be
Thank you,
longer term
Sally.
plans, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much. We agree wholeheartedly. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sally. Bob?
Yes, good morning, everybody. Christina, can you tell me how far away where any health and hospital facility might be from the Posset?
Coney Island.
So hospital care, the closest would be Coney Island Hospital. There's
About how
also,
far away is that? Because I think Coney Island is quite a distance.
actually, this is directly south of the bridge. So I'd have to map it. I would say it's probably about 4 or 5 miles. I'm going on instinct because I've done the
Yeah.
drive myself, but 8 miles. Thank you, Menchie. It is 8 miles.
Has there been any thought to do something with the nearby hospital, which I noticed is St. John's Episcopal, which I assume is privately owned, which is about 6.5 miles away, and continue using this facility, this whole site for some medical needs, as opposed to, as I see what the proposal is to use it to have construction for this lifeguard facility.
So I don't think there's been any identification of a community need to the scale of this infrastructure, which frankly is failing. And really, there's no good way to put, I'm very creative and I'm always a fan of trying to extend the useful life of something, but this is not structures that I would recommend extending the useful life on at all. I don't think we've seen specific needs for healthcare that would warrant this property, but that's why we need to look at the long-term vision as already identified with the community and hear their take on that.
Yeah,
But,
I
you
would
know,
just
we had,
add, we
Thanks.
are actively discussing with the community in the Rockaways, creating a facility that's health and hospitals. As Bob's question implies, that there is a growing population in the Rockaways, and a lot of affordable housing going up, which will increase the need for health and hospital services. And it's not easy to get off the Rockaways, right? You have to go across to Queens, or you have to go down the Marine Parkway Bridge into Coney Island. But if we were to do that, what we would likely do is look for more like a storefront with a lot of foot traffic near where they're building the housing. Sort of like our new facility in Bedford-Stuyvesant. This particular location would not be the right location anymore. And as Christina said, it's such a large, I mean, this was a former hospital, so it's huge. And it's in horrible disrepair. And this is no way to resurrect this. And once you recognize there's not much to do with the facility, this would not be the spot for the additional clinic. So that's why we're thinking that the best use is to, return it to park. It's a beautiful site. It'd be nice if they gave us money, but it would be nice just not to have to spend $200,000 a year to keep it up. I would consider that a victory in and of itself. And if we were given the land, we didn't buy it. So, I don't feel bad if we give it up to a park purpose. Does that make sense, Bob, to you?
Yes, I recognize the need to demolish. I realize that there's no plan to do anything else on that site except something that's a parks facility. I also realize that Rockaway is growing in many respects, and I just I can't picture that part of the Rockaways, and I can't visualize where there's a nearby health and hospitals facility. And I would not want us to be criticized for doing a demolition for a future parks project when some electeds might say, well, why isn't health and hospitals moving forward for a smaller facility like a Gotham facility, either on site there or nearby? And so I don't know the geography, except since it's on the Rockaways, you've got to come off the Rockaways and make your way through Queens to Brooklyn and all the way down through that traffic on the Bell Parkway to Coney Island. So I'm looking out more for also, are there any, did you say, Christina, that you've been in touch with the electeds, or the electeds know what this project is, and have any of them piped in as to what they believe is do they support the project as it is?
Yes, we have been in touch with electeds, and we actually have been in touch with electeds about downtown Far Rockaway and the needs there. It's too early for us to announce anything, but we've been spending time in the downtown Far Rockaway area, recognizing, as Dr. Katz mentioned, the high amount of affordable housing happening there, the substantial capital investment in the downtown Far Rockaway area from a resiliency perspective. And so that has been more where we focused on as far as growth versus this more vulnerable location that's on the far west side of the Rockaway Peninsula that has also a lower density. So we have been in touch with multiple elected officials with the help of Deb Brown's team.
Okay, thank you.
I think overall, Bob, it's a great flag that you're raising, and I think people will ask as we're recommending demolishing it. But we wanted a clinic in Far Rockaway, because we have heard that. And what we're going to keep saying is we are interested in creating a site. It's just this is not where it should be. And I think that answer will resonate with people, but I agree, it's a great flag.
Okay, Christina, thank you very much. Mitch, thank you very much. I have no more questions.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Again, I think, Christine, you can see how this topic brings a lot of questions about the future. So I hope that you can keep us abreast as you are thinking and in your conversations that you have with any other organizations or entities with respect to the future for this site.
Thank you. Will do.
Thank you. So let me now get each member vote. Jose,
Yes?
Dr. Katz,
Yes.
Frida,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Peniowski also yes. Thank you. The resolution, the motion is carried. So, Christine,
Thank you.
next.
Thank you. Our last resolution is a request authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals, the corporation, the system, to execute a 3-year agreement with CBRE Inc., CBRE, for various facility management support systems, with the system holding 2 1-year options to renew for an amount over the potential 5-year term not to exceed $100 million. So I will start this to give historical background. In 2012, New York City Health and Hospitals entered into a 9-year agreement with Johnson Controls to manage the system's plant maintenance operations at a total cost of $498,255,144. Approximately 50 JCI staff supported this work, supporting the Office of Facilities Development, and that consisted of management teams, finance, and critical procurement functions. CBRE purchased JCI's facilities management business, and at that time, New York City Health and Hospitals renegotiated that contract with CBRE to significantly reduce the scope of the assigned contract, bringing many of the services back in-house to Health and Hospitals. The CBRE staff was reduced to 10, and the directors of engineering and assistant directors of engineering became New York City Health and Hospitals mostly. CBRE did retain the responsibility of performing urgent purchasing to support all of our sites across the system. Next slide, please. This original contract expired March 15th of 2021. We entered into a 3-month extension to allow CBRE to establish an MWBE plan. The MWBE plan had been waived at the time. And H&H subsequently entered into a 1-year best interest extension with an MWBE subcontracting plan of 30%, and that was approved by both the CRC and the board capital committee in 2021. This current agreement that's in place is set to expire June 30th of 2022. The current annual NTE for the CBRE 1-year extension is 17.75 for urgent supplies, repairs, and facilities support. 16 of that is for the goods and urgent repairs, and only 1.75 is towards staffing. CBRE does follow OP 100-5 in all of their procurement on behalf of H&H. The next slide shows you the more recent background associated with this contract, both the types of POs, the quantity of purchase orders that are being processed, as well as the average value of these POs. As you can see, these purchase orders that are being facilitated as an extension of H&H are really being done for small but critical items that support all of our physical plant needs. And you can see the average PO value. Since we engaged in the extensions, both short-term and 1 year with CBRE, I want to commend Manny Saez and our facilities team and the CBRE team to really engage the market and bring in many more MWBE firms. The current state from October of 2018 to 2021, there was about a 5% utilization of MWBE firms. After engaging with CBRE and our DOEs, we actually held a fair here in this building for our directors of engineering to meet the many MWBEs that could be performing similar work. And in the short 3-month extension, the MWBE participation was 15%. And the most recent numbers show us at 31% MWBE utilization. I'm going to have Manny Saez, our AVP, walk through the procurement that we did for this type of scope. Manny?
Thank you. Thank you, Christine. Good morning, everyone. This next slide represents the RFP criteria, and the minimum criteria was 5 years in the business, minimum 5 years experience at urgent purchasing for facility-specific commodities and service, complex infrastructure troubleshooting and regulatory compliance support, MWE plan waiver or certification. Substantive criteria was 25 proposed approach and methodology, 25% appropriateness and quality of firm's experience, 25% qualification of proposed staff, 15% MWBE, and 10% cost. The evaluation committee was made up of several groups: OFD, Associated Executive Directors from Facilities, the Directors of Engineering, as well as Supply Chain, Finance, and ITS. The next slide represents the scope of service that we put out. It was urgent procurement and timely payment of physical plant goods and services, entirely electronic standardized procurement system, electronic vendor invoicing, electronic facility receiving and goods and services, electronic review and approval of vendor invoices, and real-time reporting. 24-hour turnaround on POs to support urgent facility purchases for physical plant needs, repairs of systems and infrastructure, parts and supplies to repair and replace systems and infrastructure, regulatory urgent, assessment of unanticipated concerns, Joint Commission related urgent supplies, repairs required during regulatory review of environment of care, comply with OP 100-5 in all procurement executed on behalf of H&H. We were also including on-call technical staff expertise, expert on call support for physical plant, expert troubleshooting of complex infrastructure issues, Joint Commission and regulatory compliance as required, payment terms of net 60 days, future contract of 94.5 million of new contract will be towards urgent goods and services, and 5.5 towards staffing. That was a mouthful. The next slide represents an overview of procurement. On February 8th, 2022, RFP posted on City Record, sent directly to 9 vendors. February 15th, 22, pre-proposal conference held, 7 vendors had attended. On March 1st, proposal deadline, 2 proposals received, 1 proposal rejected as it did not meet the scope of work. This chart represents the invitees, the number of respondents, and meeting the goals and waivers, requesting waivers. March 15th, CBRE presented a proposal solution to evaluation committee and it was scored. On March 16th, CBRE was selected with a score of 9.3 out of 10. Non-participating vendor feedback included vendors unable to meet the MWB target of 35%, an inability to employ facility experts for on-call staffing, provide on-demand facility expertise and compliance, MEP and healthcare is not consistent with the delivery model, did not agree with New York City Health and Hospitals terms and conditions, did not process procurement software, which met the need as outlined in the RFP, unable to accommodate short-term nature of sourcing request, and the capability to provide staff augmentation within the required timetable was very limited. The next slide represents the scoring grid, resulting in excellent. The next slide represents the CBRE MWBE utilization plan. It's a breakdown of contractors, certifying agencies, ethnicity, MW utilization, and the subcontractor scope of work. And finally, Capital Committee requests include authorizing the New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation to execute a 3-year agreement with CBRE for various facility management support services, with the system holding 2 one-year options to renew for an amount over the potential 5-year term to not exceed $100 million. And that is my final slide.
Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Christine, for the presentation. Let me open the floor to the members for questions. Jose.
Thank you so much for this. It looks like you have done all due diligence on it, and I have no questions. Thanks. Thank you.
Dr. Katz.
No questions, thank you.
Frida.
Thank you. I think this was very helpful, the presentation. And I'd like that we went from the original JCI contract to this one where more of the work's being done in-house, and I appreciate the diligence you guys have done to say that it's still the best path forward, so that makes sense. If I'm understanding correctly, it seems that from where we were in the contract currently, and the personnel costs are going to go down? Is that because we're going to have fewer dedicated staff from CBRE? Is that?
That's correct. We, since the time that the extension arose, we have continued to reduce the amount of CBRE staff, and it's at this point limited to on-call expertise as well as the purchasing finance side of the team.
Okay. And then the current contract, is that a 7% markup as well? And so that's sort of staying the same as,
So the 7% markup will remain the same for the goods and services. The on-call CBRE proposed 15% markup, but we're currently finalizing negotiations with them where we hope to get that down to between 7 and 10%. We'd like to keep it at 7. That's what we proposed. They're going back to their teams to have some discussion, and then they'll get back to us with their best and finalized.
okay. And so the estimates that you've included here would cover sort of that assumption.
Correct.
Or make
Yes.
that, I guess I should say.
Yes.
Okay, terrific. I think that was it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frida.
Thank you.
Sally?
Yeah, I just would like a little information on the work that was taken in-house. It was a significant amount of work that we thought we could take on. And I want to know how that process went and where you encountered some issues, or has it just been going well?
So the work to take more work in-house started before my time, but let me give you just a broad overview. It really predominantly consisted of us recruiting ourselves, our directors of engineering and assistant directors of engineering, which had previously started originally, a decade ago, as Johnson Controls was going to bring directors of engineering and assistant directors of engineering and additional staff to manage the in-house health and hospitals union trade staff. So over time, we have whittled that cadre of professionals down, and those are now health and hospitals employees. And so that has been the largest area of what I would call bringing that scope back into our organization. I think that the uniqueness of the urgent small purchasing, that's the piece that we haven't, that's a piece that has a very unique aspect to it, with a lot of different characteristics on why we would believe there's an advantage of being able to really leverage the outside market for.
Okay, thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Bob?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Christine, can you do me a favor and can you bring the slide in which you show the chart of the MWB expenditures?
So that would be slide.
The previous one to that one.
Keep going forward. One more, 2 more, 1 more.
Yeah.
There we go.
I just want to say that this slide is so impactful in my mind, and it's a slide that I hope that we share across the different groups in health and hospital that are working in procurement, because if I recall the conversations that we had in March when we were looking at the extension, and hearing that there was a complete waiver of NWBE for this contract because it was not possible, there was not the contractors, that the business model, there were a lot of discussions on why this was an impossibility. And somehow your team was able to work very closely with a significantly larger organization that is a top 150 on the Fortune 500. And they and you work together in coming to numbers that now we see that exceeded even the 30% goal. And now with the contract, we are going even beyond. You requested 35%, or the system requested 35%. You got 37+%. This kind of bring me the slogan that Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, and Barack Obama said, yes, we can. And this proved it. And so I just hope that the other units that are working in procurement in health and hospital really understand that if you are able to move, and a company like CBRE is able to see it and work on it, that yes, we can. So I do hope that this is shared with everybody. And I want to thank your team and of course CBRE for making it happen. But if you go to the next slide, that you list the number of sub-consultants, where you have the list, very extensive list, looking at different type of goods and services that can be provided from multiple groups. That shows that when you work hard and you put your mind and your energy to it, yes, you can. Okay, so I just want to kind of highlight that and congratulate your team, congratulate CBRE for the work on ensuring that the people that are doing the work represents our patient population. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And with that, I would like to ask for a vote for each one of the members. Jose,
Yes.
Dr. Katz, Frida,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes, and thank you, Fenny, for your leadership on the MWB issue, because it starts at the top and clearly hasn't been embraced by staff in a very aggressive manner.
thank you, Sally. And I will say that it takes a village. And we know that the village counts all of you and the staff at Health and Hospital, but also the vendors to see and understand the importance of this and working together. So thank you, Sally. Bob?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Again, thank you so much. And I think this is the last resolution. Is that correct, Christine?
Yes, that's correct.
So I would like to know if there is any old business, any new business. There being no further discussion, the meeting adjourned, and we finished on time. So I'm so
Thank you.
happy.
Mr. Chair.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.